Good morning, everyone. It is nearly 4 a.m., and we know what time that is. It's time for another Careers Clinic live stream with your host, Careers Clinic, Career Advice UK. I'm Brian, Career Advice UK. I live stream every day at 4 a.m. Greenwich Median Time, taking your questions on things like writing CVs, editing CVs, interviews, and how to interview questions, how to structure a reply to an interview question, how to prepare for one. What is, a one-sided interview? How do you prepare for a one-sided interview? How to prepare for a virtual interview, the etiquette on a virtual interview. Also, how to start a small UK business. Hey, Reese, good to see you. How to start a small UK business. Also, to talk about with UCAS, about ready to close its first round of applications on the 14th of January. It is to say to you, talk to you about finding the right program for you, the right fit for you, and how to write your personal statement. Even to do a little bit on workplace related issues. So whatever your question is, feel free to put it down in the question below, and I will pick it up on a first come, first serve basis. If you do like the feed, I always do encourage you to please like, to please share, and to please follow. Because when you do follow, you do get updates on my live streams and also to my content. So if you do have a question, please put it down. I do pick it up. I do answer. And the benefit of today for you is this. Hey, Cal, good to see you. What the benefit is you do, by asking your question, you do get a response to it. Plus, it is also, it is something that you can take away, something you can use, something to consider. To help you with your job, to help you finding a job, with job hunting, anything. It is here for you to ask and for you to get the benefit from joining, because there is benefits when you do join. And some of the benefit does include here. It does include, for example, you do get the tips that you can take away, the things that will help you cut the time that you're job hunting, job searching, and finding a job. It does help you with that. It also helps you to find a job quicker, meaning that you are not the one, who's struggling to find a job, because you've had the tip, you've had advice, you've had the insight on how to do it. And people who do ask questions, especially when it comes to CVs, do come back later and say that the tips and advice that I have given them has helped them land the job that they want. So it is a bit of worth your time to ask your questions, because it does help. So ask away. I am here. Put your question down below. So if you are wondering why it is so difficult to find a job in the UK at this moment, put it down. More than happy to take a question on that and discuss that. Are you struggling to, are you sending out CVs and then finding, it is being rejected and you're getting no response? And how do you get a response, on your CVs? Because it does take time to, send it out, to prepare it, and you're getting no reply. So you have no idea, why is it being rejected? Why aren't people liking it? And it is, can be very frustrating, especially when we are approaching the point where we're moving closely to the point, and some will argue we have already moved past the point of full employment. And now we are beginning to, and some definitions, beginning to find that there's not enough jobs available for everyone who wants a job. And so what do you do? How do you, hey, TikToker, good to see you back. How do you, fix that? How do you get yourself noticed with a recruiter? How? What is it that you need to do? What is it? How do you get your CV to stand out? What is it that you need to do? What is the magical formula? What is it? Hey, the Fab, good to see you back. I remember you a bit. Happy holidays to you too. Oh, amazing. Good to see you. So think about it. If you send out CVs, are you sending out CVs without a reply? Now let me know. Let me know if you're sending out CVs and you're getting no replies. Hey, thanks for the like, Fab. Let me know. Let's see what we can do for you. Like I said, the benefit here of joining is that you do get advice that works, advice that will probably help you cut your job searching time, because you're now getting interviews instead of just sending off applications, and instead of just getting rejections, you're actually getting responses, getting invites to interviews. There is the benefit. All it takes is just one question. All it takes for you to kind of change that from rejection into offers, job offers, and job interviews is asking that one important question to help you get unstuck and help you get in on the right track, because it does. And that's one of the things too about this live, is that people tend to be, from what I've seen, a bit transient, and meaning that, and I don't mean it in a bad way, people come here for a reason, and that is about getting advice, getting tips to help them find their job, help them to resolve a workplace issue, or to find a way to get support, to start their own small business, and that's what it is. And some may come here for applying for jobs, applying for university, and that ultimately leads to their job later in life. And so it means really people come here for a period of time and then they move on and they get their issue resolved. Really, there's no need sometimes for them to come back, which is fine, no problem. And so it is kind of a transient. It is kind of like a stage. People come here in stages, and sometimes they'll come back when the situation then changes again, because they know I exist. So it is, it is one of these things. So if you do have a question, I'm more than happy to take it upon myself and answer it for you. Especially if it's work related, if you're sending out CVs and they're not happening, or if you have an upcoming interview and you're, all worried because you don't know how to answer some of those questions, because let's be honest, there is a lot of pressure when you go into an interview, because a lot of times you're unemployed or you're in a really bad work situation. So you're kind of trying to, let's be honest, looking at your other options and saying, what's out there, and making that decision. Should you stay or should you go? And it is, one of these things, you apply, you get this, you got the interview, so you do feel a bit optimistic, but at the same time very nervous, because there's a lot riding on it, and so you don't want to be unemployed, or you don't want to be in that horrible work situation, because you want to be able to move on and feel like you're really beginning to accomplish something. So you go you interview, and again, because you have the pressure on you, it makes you nervous, it makes you rush, you feel, discombobulated. What do you say, what do you do? You can't think straight, you can't recall things. And all of a sudden things just doesn't seem to go your way. So what do you do? How do you um fix it? And that's what I'm here for. It is to help you kind of get things straight, to help you. The 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 benefit here is really in the way of time saving, and it is more intangible. It's a intangible time saving, because what it does, it means when you ask your question, you get your help with it. It may not mean that the first time you try it, it works, because again, there's a lot of reasons for it, because maybe the applicant pool was a lot stronger than it had been after was less unemployment. So the applicant may be strong, and you may try it, and it may got you kind of in that, you felt good afterwards, but you try it again, and all of a sudden you get that offer. So now you've had that experience, you know how to kind of move forward, how to do a few little tweaks, and now you got that offer, instead of going to, repeated interview after job interview after job interview. It does that. What it does is that, it gives you that benefit, that confidence. It gives you the confidence because you go into that interview knowing that you spoke to somebody who's had experience sitting on interviews, who can give you a few insight tips on what to do, what to say, how to say it, and how to succeed. That is what I am, here to do, and to talk to you about. That is what I'm here and what I want to do for you. Talk to me, tell me, what is your issue? Again, if you are, because it is, again, are you applying to, UK university? Are you applying to UK university, and do you have a question about personal statement, degree, or university? So again, because UCAS deadline is coming up, do you have, question about, personal statement? Apply, ask those questions again. Or, if you are, looking to start, if you're looking to start a small business in the UK, put it into the comments. Again, if you're looking to, start your own UK small business, and you want a bit of tips and advice on how to kind of turn your idea into reality, put it down below. More than willing to pick it up, with you, and to talk you through what you need to do, because it is very daunting. It can be very taxing, and it is very, but there is support along the way. There is support for you. All you have to do is ask. So if you have a question about that, feel free. Oh, that's really good. Feel free to ask away. I didn't know my camera had done that. So feel free to ask away. If you have a question, in regards to, CVs and cover letters, put it away. So it just ask away. So if you do have a question, anything. So the way I operate here is I do take questions on a first come, first served basis. I do guest spots, and I actually ran one yesterday. So if you're looking to do a guest spot, again, I can talk about how I run it. And the way I do it is I run it on a point system. And so it is on 8 points. So if it is, 1,000 points, I will do a CV tip. At 1,500, I will do a guest spot. And that guest spot is open to everyone. I can't do, it goes to, it is random. I have to open on tic-tac rules. I have to open it up to everyone to ensure they get an equal chance. I will take one person for about 5 minutes to ask their question, and then we move on because I do want to keep the focus is the live stream, not the guest spot. So it's one question, career related, about 5 minutes. I can go, a little longer. I've done it before with other guest spots, so ask away. So if you have a question, please feel free to ask. So if you have, and you're just joining, you do like the feed, please like, please share, please follow. If you do send out, because today we kind of been talking about a little bit about interviews and also to sending out CVs without replies. And, and trying to work through that because it is, like I said, very, very competitive market. And it is, from my own experience, having to apply for my next contracted role under the umbrella company that I work. It does take away, it does take a bit. It is, I think, a bit more competitive than it is before. And I do find right now with doing the doing umbrella, I do send out a lot of inquiries. I do get a lot of contact, but a lot of times things kind of go kind of fall apart, and part of it is because there isn't the funding to do it, or the organization decides to go a different direction. So it goes, it can go either way. And so it is a bit more competitive, and it does take, I think, a bit more of time to find it, to get what you want or need. So what I would be doing and what I'd be recommending is, if you have a question or needing help with your CV, please put it down below because I'm more than willing to help you with it. It is one of these things when you do send out CVs, it is, like I said, very competitive out there, and you do need to kind of tick certain boxes in order to get the job that you want, the job that you desire. And what I'm finding is that, with my experience, is that you do need to really, really meet the requirements. I've had in contract management, I have several years of contract management experience, and I've been rejected on numerous occasions because I have the experience that they need, but it's not the sector experience, which I think is a bit odd. But usually you can pick up the sector experience, the sector knowledge relatively quick and easy. especially if it's not a heavily regulated sector. It is something that you really pick up because you do the contract, so you do have to learn to kind of like the ins and outs with it. Um, and so, I feel for me, it's. I think that was kind of a weak excuse, but I know it is very competitive. So if you do have, a question, feel free, to put it down below, and I'm more than happy to pick those questions up from you. If you have a CV related question or job interview, cover letter, because we did. Um, I think Indeed, it's a good question. It's I think the best way is for you is it's I think it's going to be probably a little bit of struggle. You may have some GCSEs, but um I would start to say is if you can start looking for apprenticeships, seeing if there's anything you can get. Apprenticeships will probably be the best way. At 16, you are still too young to do some certain jobs, especially those that have that are kind of like a risk to health and safety. So anything like working as a cook, serving alcohol. I believe you would be barred from certain construction jobs due to the age. So you're going to be limited until you hit 18. The other thing you're going to struggle with is pay for those under, because of your age, pay will be a lot lower because employers can pay you less. And so it will be a bit of a struggle unless you're living at home. Well, thank you, Kid Casey. Thank you for the share. So it will be, I think, a bit of a struggle. The best advice I would give you would be to look at doing college. Um, look at doing college, look at doing an apprenticeship, because it will be. Otherwise, I would start to say, kind of start to look at agencies. You may struggle with agencies even because you don't really have experience. But again, there's certain ones that focus on, let's say, warehouse work or manufacturing. Um, Again, it may be an issue because of kind of health and safety considerations, because most business insurance won't insure those under the age of 18. But again, depending on what you're doing, it may be all right. So if you do have the skills like Microsoft Office, you can do some Microsoft Office or some coding. Um, you may be able to get something. Oh yeah, I have a work under an umbrella. I'm still trying to get my small business up and running because I think for me that's going to be more of a predictable source of income than this. I was lucky to get an umbrella job, so I do have an umbrella job. It's only part time, which is I think, kind of part and parcel for a lot right now, because a lot that I've had contact with is, oh well, thank you, Ryan, for I'm ready. Thank you. Um, I think it would be, bit, I think for me, it's kind of a little bit the best of both worlds. The only thing is with the role, I do have to travel twice a month down to London, um, which is not so bad. Um, but it is going to be, I think, it does become taxing. Um, because I've done travel down to London twice a month. It's not so bad. I can survive on that, and it is part time, so I won't wind up getting burnt out doing it. But it is, I think it's, and the pay is not so bad. So it will ultimately kind of pay for the ticket, but it is going to because I'm traveling down to London twice, a lot of the pay will go to pay for the ticket. So I don't know how's it going to work out. I will have to speak with my accountant on the umbrella company and see how I can either claim it back or take it as a tax, if I can do it as a tax deduction. So yeah, so I think for you, and the best way is one of the things I would say is look at going back to college, look at apprenticeships, and start to kind of look at, if you can do office type of jobs. If you have the skills like with Microsoft Office to maybe do some data entry or some basic Excel, and start looking for those types of jobs, and just kind of just realize at 16 there are limitations on what you can do from a kind of an employer insurance perspective, and from a legal perspective, because like I said, you can't do like alcohol, and I think and certain other perks with benefits, like with jobs, I think you have to be like 22 or 25 to actually get like company cars for traveling. So if you do have a car, I would say maybe take a look at sales jobs, because sales jobs can be good. And so sales jobs will be, like I said, sales jobs are always, would be a good one to look at for yourself. I would say take a look. If you can get into sales, probably the best way to do it. But again, there's going to be certain limitations, because a lot of times with sales, you do have to do some traveling, especially if you're in the recruitment end of things. But there is always, opportunities. Sales also look at potentially call center roles. They may make hey, thank you, Harry, for the share. That's very much appreciated. And those sales roles in call centers can be, I think, a potential. Oh, well, thank you, Jody. Thank you for the heart me. Thank you. And look at, sales and also potential call centers. Again, those may be, and again, oh, well, thank you for you're awesome, Jody. Thank you so much. And take a look at those. Those types of roles would probably be the most, I would have to say, probably the most likely outcomes for you. So yeah, so if you are, just joining, you do like the feed, please like, please share, please follow, because you do learn about my live streams and my live stream schedule and content by following. Likewise too, if you do feel inclined, but don't feel as though you have to, please think it's because it does help me to know what is resonating with people, helps me to kind of plan the discussion, and it also too helps me to plan my future content. So if you do have a question, please, feel free, to put it down. And again, the type of questions I do get during these live streams, it's very varied. And in the last couple of weeks, it's really kind of branched out a bit more. Talking a lot more about small business startups beyond where you get the support, and talking a little bit more about small business questions, relating to kind of like the initial startup. And there's also Oh, there's also to the opportunity to ask questions. I do on small business. Also, it does kind of ebb and flow a bit with university type of related questions, university life, talking. Hey, ain't no bitch. Hey, how are you doing? Um, so it talk about that. I do get those from time to time. Usually, I will get those types of questions. I don't know. That's a good one. Um, I think they still do. We just want to clarify. Um, are you U.S. or U.K.? Um, because UK, that's what I thought, and I just wanted to make sure because I know US does a lot of with grants, and I just wanted to make sure. Um, that we are on the same page. Let's see. That's a good. Um, it is. It does seem. It does seem as though. Well, thank you, I Ain't No Bitch, for more of the I'm Ready SpongeBob. Thank you. It does seem as though I've done a quick search here, and so you want to just double check if I'm correct on it. But it does seem that the government still provides grants and some financial support to help with living costs for students. And I believe in the UK, this is only for undergraduates, if I remember right. Um, so I would also, and also to universities can and do provide sometimes um, sometimes universities will have some grants available to help defray costs and stuff. So you may want to talk with them to see if they have anything available. Can't guarantee that they will, can't say that they will, or who does. It's pretty much on a case by case basis. And most of the time it is for hardship. But again, it's always worth having a quick question because, like I said, the reason why I asked um, to differentiate um, the between the U.S. and UK because a lot of the U.S. universities, um, you know, many U.S. universities will also offer kind of like grants and stuff or scholarships to students. So it's always good to, for me, it's very important to kind of know the difference between if you're asking U.S. or UK. In regards to that. So yeah, so it does appear. So to answer the question, does the UK government provide grants to students? It does. At least it does prepare. It does appear that they do. It does appear. It does. So, but I would always say just double check just to make sure it does happen. Um, Otherwise, yeah, it is. And like I said, talk with the university just to see if they have anything additional to do it. So if you're just joining and you do like the feed, please like, please share, and also to, please follow because it does help to keep you up to date with my live stream and content. Likewise, if you are just joining and you do have questions, feel free to put it down because that's what I'm here for. I do provide, answers to questions, and the benefit of joining is even if you only here for a few minutes, is if you ask a question, you get a response, and you get a response that can help you. And so if it is applying for a job or an interview, um, are you, of age? Because this is one of these, I was talking with another one about 16. Um, And again, depending on where you're at, if you're under the, you know, if you're under the age of 18, again, in the UK, I believe your casino work is off. US, I believe it's 21. So you're 24. That's good. So yeah, you just have to, to go about working. It's just begin to apply to them. A lot of times, it is what I will say to you is all you have to do is just start applying to them because they will take on people in the UK. You just have to start applying for them, and they will take you on depending on where you want to go. If you want to go security, if you want to work in the casino as, like, say, a dealer, blackjack dealer, roulette, walk around with slots. It's all, it is, just an application. Go on their website, look for any possible jobs. Also, too, if you're in the area, find out which, take a look at. Basically, just need to start applying. Look on the websites. Again, take a look on LinkedIn. I always say is, well, if it depends if you have the background. Do you have the maths, the maths, physics, chemistry? Because you're going to need to have a strong STEM background to do aerospace engineering. And usually aerospace is probably the most competitive of all the engineering fields. Aerospace. So yes. So yeah, so if you do have, if you want to be an aerospace engineer, you need to do your, at least your bachelor's degree in aerospace engineering. So yes, so aerospace engineer, you would need to do, A levels in maths, physics, chemistry, and probably biology. It is very competitive. It is a, it is a very competitive field to get into. It is, so, so, so if you are, just joining, do please like, please share, and please follow. So, so if you do like that, please like, please share, please follow. if they're not going to be disruptive, I can. If they're going to ask silly questions, then I will keep them blocked. Because I don't go for disruptive behavior. I do block very quickly on disruptive because a lot of people do come here to ask serious questions, and I'm not going to have somebody make light of it by asking silly questions. If they want to be childish, then they can find another live stream, because I'm not going to have somebody disrupted, because a lot of people do ask serious questions and they want serious answers, and it's not fun time. It's not playtime. So if you can behave, I will unblock. But if they're going to be disruptive, I will block both of you. So yeah. So if you do have a question, please feel free to put it down below. It's asking, what do you need to? Well, it's you're the one speaking for them. Okay, no problems, kid. So if you do have a question, please put it down below. If you do please share, please follow. And also being a pineapple, it's not an occupation. And so, yes. I don't see. It is very difficult. You can't be a pineapple farmer in the UK because the weather is not conducive for pineapples, and the only place you can really grow them would be in a very kind of subtropical, like Hawaii, Polynesia, because they do need a lot of sun and a lot of rain. Kira, so you would have to, if you want to be a farmer, you would have to do like a bachelor in agriculture. I don't really know of any UK universities that really does it. You'd almost probably would have to go to the US and and do the US, and the ones that you'd want to go to in the US would be a land grant school. And you would have to go to find a state with a land grant. They do offer them. Yeah, so if you're interested in farming, and then again applying the principles of pineapple farming, I would say take a look at the U.S., especially the land grant schools, because those are the ones that are dedicated. Land grant schools are the ones dedicated in the U.S. to farming. It's a land grant school in the U.S. that is one that provides education in agriculture, science, and engineering. It's meant to serve more of the rural kind communities. So look for each state has their own land grant school. It tends to be one of the larger schools, and then they will be, if you're looking for farming, those are the ones because the U.S. does invest a lot more into farming than the UK does. And like I said, I wasn't even aware. Just a quick check, UK does offer land grant. UK does do agriculture, but if you're really looking to do and you're serious about agriculture as a degree, then I would say, look at the US and look and search for land grant schools, because the land grant schools are the ones dedicated to agriculture, and you would be um, you know learning about agriculture, and really, and I would say probably it is a bit more, how should I say? Hey, Jody, good to see you. And I would say land grant. If you go to a land grant, it is probably a lot more than what you would get. I would say probably the land grant, you would get a lot from it, and I think it would be very good. A lot of the land grant schools tend to be the bigger schools. And I'm just doing a quick check here. So if you take a look, just taking a look, and just seeing, there is a few on the East Coast that are land grant, such as Cornell, and just trying to think, just scanning through some of the list here just to see. University of California, University of Nevada. Just seeing if there's anything. Hey, depends. If you buy it in advance, it depends. If you go to somewhere like Cornell, you're not that far from either New York or Philadelphia. Again, you're probably talking maybe, if you're lucky, and you can get it, maybe 400 or 500 pounds. If you go to, again, like looking Texas A&M again, you're probably talking, or University of Florida, probably 4 or 5, maybe 500 pounds, low end. If you go probably to some of the more very rural states, where it would be probably cheaper, like South Dakota State University, for example, North Dakota State, and University of Nebraska, and Iowa State, where it is a bit cheaper university-wise. The flights would be probably more. You'd be looking at in the, probably the 700 to 900 pound range, but the cost of the university would probably offset the cost of the flight. And again, these would be, again, kind of like, very seasonal. Sometimes it's not that, it'd be about, like I said, 400 to 500 East Coast. If you go, to more of the, kind of the rural areas where, it's really big farming, like South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska, um, Colorado, parts of Colorado, University of Wyoming. Hey, thanks, kid. I would probably would say take a look at, the price again. It's, it really would vary. Probably in the probably if you watch prices closely and track the prices, um, you could probably do it for probably about 500-600 pounds. But most likely I probably would say kind of expect to be in the 6 to 750 range. If it is anything anything more, depending on, how far you book and, time of year, it may hit about 900. But it's about 6 to 7, I would probably would say kind of would be, if you're looking for the more the rural areas, it's about 6 to 700 for flights. Kind of more East Coast, probably talking in the 4 to 500 range. The only thing I would probably would say to you would be, the flights can be long. If you're going, let's say, like Midwest, you're probably looking at a change of planes. One change of planes, it could be then takes about 10 to 12 hours, maybe a bit more, depending on where you're going. It'd be probably about 14 would be with a change of planes. If you're going East Coast, it would be probably, okay, so then it's not going to be so bad. If you go for, like, example, Midwest, and you fly out of London, you'll will go via either Dallas or Chicago most of the time. And then it'd be a couple of hours from there, probably about 2 hours outside of either one of them. So it is kind of like a long flight and then kind of a little bit of a shorter flight. But the other thing you'll have to always remember, because these are rural schools in a rural area, you will wind up having to find a way back, and that's going to be kind of, I think, kind of the challenge. It is a kind of a challenge, I think, to get back. And so to kind of get back, because they are rural, they're not by the airport, and it will probably require a drive. Kind of taking a look at, if we talk about like Cornell out of either New York or Philly, you're probably talking a good, I'm just going to kind of estimate this, 3 to 4 hour drive. If you're talking University of Nebraska, that's like an hour out of Omaha and Lincoln, and I think there might be a 1 or 2 regional flights. If you're looking at North Dakota, I think North Dakota, that would be North Dakota State University, that would be Fargo, and there is a regional flight there, so it's not going to be a drive. South Dakota State University, that's Brookings, and that would be about an hour out of the Sioux Falls, and there's a lot of regional flights from either Chicago or Texas, I do know, and the same would be for North Dakota and also Nebraska. Colorado State would be Denver, and that would be probably a 2-hour drive out of Denver. And University of Wyoming, I think it's like Laramie, and that's probably a 2 or 3 hour drive out of Denver too. So again, if you're looking Texas, it's Texas A&M, which is a very, very large, very kind of popular school. And again, that would be, I don't think it's that far out of, I think, Dallas. It's not that far out of Dallas. So again, you could fly Heathrow to Dallas, and then it is not a big drive. DC, again, probably I think the closest would be like University of Delaware, Delaware State University, University of Maryland. All these are really University of District of Columbia. All these are really close to DC. And again, these would be very, again, it would be probably 45-minute, either by train or by car to them. So it's not a lot. It's just getting away back to the university, because like I said, if you're doing rural studies, farming and stuff, it's usually in a more rural area. And so it would be a bit of a drive, and you would just need probably like a car to park at the airport or get a friend to meet you and take you back. I don't really, that's an interesting question. Job outing, because most of the job I tend to work umbrella, and so basically I will work something fixed term. I will work something on a fixed term basis, meaning that as an umbrella, I work on a temporary role, coming in to do a very specific task for an organization. And then once I've completed that, then my role comes to an end, which is fine. I think probably I would have to say one of the my favorite past memory would be, I worked for a really nice university, but now they've kind of merged, for a really nice university. And it was a lot of fun in so many ways. And I think that's probably the fondest kind of memory I have of kind of like job outing. We really didn't go out, but it was probably the nicest one, because it was a really nice university to work for on a fixed term basis. So, and I probably could have hung around for a bit, but it would kind of meaning to take a step down, and I really didn't want to stay and take a step down. So I decided to let the contract end on that basis. So so yeah, so if if you're just joining, you do like no, I've had a kind of like request for guest spot, and I'll just kind of go back, hey lurks, and just do that. Like I've said earlier, is when I do my lives, I do it on a point basis for joining to do guest spots, and I had one yesterday. And I I would. If you have a question, you can type it. Because I've done questions so many times with lives, they have kind of gone kind of belly up, and so I incorporate them. I do incorporate with the kind of the point basis, just to kind of limit it and have a little bit more to kind of limit the guest spots, because they do, when I've done guest spots, they tend to take up a lot of time. Hey, Bandy, good to see you again. And so for me, when I've done them, they do take a lot of time, and I would rather use the time for people to ask questions than to do them. And I just did one yesterday because I did hit the 1500. So I did hit the 1500 points yesterday, and I did a guest spot. And so if you have a question, I'll take it into comments. And timer has ran out. So I think what I'm going to do is kind of wind down and see again, if you do join later and we do hit the kind of 1500, then there's potential, because I do it on a random basis to give everyone an equal chance under TikTok rules, so it's not favoritism. So I would say at the moment, I'm not going to do guests today because, like I said, the time's kind of run out. I haven't really prepared for it. But I may do it. I'm thinking about and I'm thinking about potentially potentially doing more with guests in the future, but I haven't yet. Yes, well, thank you so much for the rose. I ain't no bitch. Thank you. And so what I'm going to do, I think, is wind down and just remind you I'll be back tomorrow, 4 a.m. Greenwich Median Time, taking your questions. And I will thank everyone for their gifts, the time, the likes, the shares, the follows, and I will be back tomorrow at 4 a.m. Greenwich Median Time.